Realize the strength of our diversity and build upon it. We are a nation representative of a world of people of different colors, religions, genders, ages, and beliefs. Our cultural diversity is the single greatest asset we possess. A nation of individuals with different desires and varied interests that everyone will not always agree with. It is the right to pursue these differences which is the defining essence of our freedom. We must be allowed our choices. As long as we do not bring harm to another and fulfill our obligations as citizens, we have the right to pursue our own destiny. We may not deny one another that right, and it must not be restricted or regulated by the government. It is not the place of government to determine and regulate each factor of our lives. It is not the business of the government to determine with whom we sleep or what we do in our own homes. Government cannot tell you what to think or what to do with your body. Even now, your right to privacy is nearly non-existent as the government has invaded almost every aspect of our lives. Don't be fooled by clever schemes to manipulate your rights. The war on drugs is the biggest hoax on the American people since insurance or the lottery. Billions upon billions of dollars spent to persecute those who need help rather than punishment. Despite overwhelming evidence that suggests we are going down the wrong road, America has declared war on people who sell drugs and those with drug addictions. America needs to know it is a war it cannot win pursuant to the avenue our government has chosen to engage it. We can no more win the war on drugs by locking people up than we can win the hearts of foreign nations by dropping bombs on them. It doesn't make sense to continue the present policy of our government unless the objective is to perpetuate the use of drugs. Where does it end? If the government has its way, it doesn't end, and by now you should know why. If the government were truly interested in winning the war on drugs, then drugs would not only be legal but readily available without cost to the addicted. This sounds strange to you because you have been conditioned to think along lines that support current government policy. Take a moment to consider the following before you make up your mind. All major cities should establish a policy of reach, teach, and release. When drug dealers are apprehended, seize their drugs and profits, then release them. It's a proven fact that the incarceration of drug dealers and users only adds to the burden of our society and makes for a more proficient criminal when they are eventually released. It is a treacherous cycle that threatens to bankrupt the vaults of our morality. Advise them there is a better way. The staunchest supporters of our present judicial system openly admit it's not perfect, but it's the best we got. As a nation, we don't gain from locking people up, so force the government to conform to the will of the people. Remove the threat of incarceration as an option. If it is our objective to curb the sale and use of drugs, we must attack the drug market itself. When such a market becomes non-profitable, the sales of narcotics will cease. We can accomplish this using confiscated drugs and money and applying them toward sponsoring centers where addicts may go to satisfy their addiction. Supply them the drugs they need, contingent upon them receiving counseling while they are there. In this way, we take people desperately in need of help, hiding in the darkness of night, and shed light upon them. We are then able to identify them, reach their families, and help them to overcome the addiction. When we remove the threat of prosecution, we create an environment where people can be helped. Overnight, the war on drugs would be over. Who could sell drugs if the government was giving them away? The young people whose lives are now being destroyed by the drug market would no longer have that market on which to sustain their activities. We must stop treating these people as if they are lower than dirt and find a way to reach them. Any addiction is a sickness and it must be treated as one. Addicts are people with serious emotional and psychological issues which are not addressed by incarceration. Their problems are compounded by the fear of apprehension, and society's problems are manifested by our refusal to allow a person desperately in need of light out of the darkness. It is madness to take the lives of people so young and turn them into criminals simply because they use a drug or choose a means to support themselves they see as their only alternative. Provide them other options and stop the cycle of destruction which is based at best upon laws contradictory in nature. How can we justify locking people up for drugs when the government sells the drug alcohol and it in itself is responsible for more deaths than all illicit drugs combined. How can we ignore the drug nicotine, which kills 1 out of 3 of its users, and lock up people for smoking marijuana? We know this makes no sense, yet we persist in supporting legislation that allows it to continue. It is not enough to acknowledge the wrong. Make a stand, do what must be done to change it. We may not agree with a person's choice to use drugs, but we must come to realize it is a moral choice and not one to be regulated by the government. When the courts call upon you to lock up a dealer or user, just say no. The alternative is to continue the proven failure, which is the current no-tolerance policy of our government.